And this nonprofit will be an option for your semester project, to do a project for them as opposed to doing one of your own making. I mentioned there's a couple clear advantages to doing the project for the nonprofit. First of all, by working with them, they will help you define the requirements, so you don't have to make up your own requirements. Secondly, if yours is implemented, if yours is the project that is implemented, that's a great feather in your cap as far as your resume goes. So there's a lot of good reasons. Plus, doing something that is going to benefit folks in the area. If you are not going to do it, I would ask you to consider this like an exercise in discussing with the client what their requirements are and determining what needs to be done. All right? You know what you need. All right? You know what you need to produce for the design document. And therefore, either through listening to what they say or through asking our guests some questions, you can get to the stuff that you need to know, the answers that you need to know. All right, let me turn the mic over, and we'll go from here. You can take as much time as you want. We're here until 11:50.
All right, terrific.
The clock is confusing me.
Yeah, that just, what time is it? It's 5 after 11, right?
5 after 11.
Okay. It confused me. Hey, listen, thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for allowing us to come in. My name's Tom Jalepis, as my friend Mitch Harwood. And basically, I'm just going to tell our story over the last couple of years. I passed something out that was used as a kind of quasi press release, and it actually appeared in the Sun newspaper's letter to the editor today, calling out for volunteers. And but basically, I'll give you my story and why we're doing this. First of all, Mitch is like my brother. He and I go back since we were this high. So during this whole year and a half, 2-year process, you know, he came with us, my wife and I, every step of the way, and all the chemo sessions and this and that. But I'll get to that in a minute. On August 2nd, 2010, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And, you know, what was coming up to that point, which tipped me off that something was going on, was it was a warm summer, very warm summer. I don't know if you recall 2010, but it was hot. And I was outside. I'm in commercial real estate, and that's a core business. And I was showing a building, and I couldn't even walk. I mean, I barely could get one foot in front of the other. And I'd been exercising a little bit too, and I was getting smaller. And you know, I could see something was wrong physically. So we were going to go to Chicago, my wife and I. Excuse me. And Bev said, you know, go to the doctors, get a Z-Pack. It's probably some virus of some type. Knock it out. I went to the doctor. Very close friend of mine, my GP, and he came out and says, you know, he had tears in his eyes. We go back a long way. He says, you have cancer. So that, you know, that obviously was like a shot to the gut, you know, and so we decided, you know, we sat down, I called my wife, I went home, I told my wife, and, you know, it just absolutely, we were all devastated. But the next day we got a game plan, and I went to the Cleveland Clinic, and I had one of the best cancer doctors, oncologists, you know, in the country. About 2 days later, we're taking tests, and they determined it hadn't gone to the brain, and it was isolated in 3 different areas in my body. And then, so which was great news, it hadn't gone to the brain. You know, not that there's a lot to go to, but it hadn't gone to the brain. And so we're driving home, and we get a call, turn around, your kidneys are failing. You know, we got the test back. So we turn around, I go in the hospital, I've got my attorney there doing a power of attorney, wills and this and that, and my kidneys are shutting down. They put me on chemo immediately, you know, and everything went, you know, according to their plan, and the kidneys recovered and all that. From that point on, they put me on this RCHOP, it was called. It's an acronym for 4 or 5 different chemos, and you can have 8 in your life. Well, after the 6th or 7th one, you know, I was doing great. And after the 8th one, my doctor at the clinic said, you're cancer-free. So Bev and I got in the car. Bev and I and Mitch, we all went to high school together. And Bev and I got in the car, and we drove home, and we get halfway home. We're in Rocky River. We live in Bay Village. And the doctor calls and says, another test came in. You still have the cancer. Turn around. So we drove around. So I'm saying all this because it's not just physical. It's so emotional, you know, and I'm sure, you know, we'll get to this in a few minutes, but everybody's probably knows somebody or has been touched personally by this. So we drive downtown, and he says, you know, we've got to, it's isolated now in the spleen. So we go in for what's going to be a minor procedure, and it ends up being major surgery. They took the spleen out. So theoretically, I may have been free of cancer in March. That was in March of 2011. And I may have been free of cancer at that point, but my oncologist says, you know, this is a very aggressive cancer that you have. It's curable, but it's very aggressive. And so with that in mind, we have to do a bone marrow transplant just to make sure that if that didn't do the job, you know, the bone marrow transplant would. So we scheduled that for May, and it's actually an incredible process. 30 days before you go in for about 30 days in the hospital. And 30 days before you go in, we're down there every day. And Mitch took me every day, and Bev would come, and, you know, and they're extracting stem cells, and then they're putting them in isolation, scrubbing them, getting them ready for the transplant at the appropriate time. They're also giving you various forms of chemo, and then when you get in the hospital, first 8 days, they just nail you with chemo. I mean, huge amounts, and it takes your immune system down to zero, all right? And then what they do, and it takes a half an hour, they bring in a little bag, they rush it over from the lab, and they replant those new stem cells that they had extracted from my body. And you know, sure enough, I'll fast forward. Last week I got, it's been 9 months since my stem cell transplant, bone marrow transplant. I got a clean bill of health. You know, I mean, I'm just blessed, you know. But during this whole process, what just broke my heart, what killed me, was seeing my wife and 2 daughters and just my loved ones. I had a great support system, but how it's like an exponential type, you know, it doesn't just hit me, it hits them and it hits them. And nobody should have to go through that. I really sincerely feel that the patient that's going through it sometimes, and more often than not, is the least affected, okay? Because half the time I was either out of it or, you know, I was on drugs or I was in the hospital for 30 straight days, you know, just absolutely just staring at the ceiling, while my wife and kids and Mitch, my other family and friends, you know, had to go through this and watch helplessly. And that was with a great support system. So, you know, now that we have a clean bill of health, we started talking about this, some very dear friends of mine, about a year and a half ago. Now that we have a clean bill of health, and I think I'm going to be around for quite a while. In fact, the way they watch me, I'll probably be 200 before I go, which I'm not. I told the dietitian, because, you know, you have side effects, and she says, well, you know, you can't eat this and this. I said, I'm not trying to live to be 200. I said, I appreciate you watching my health that closely, but the fact of the matter is, we want to do something so people don't have to go through this alone, number one. Number two, so people know they have support that they can count on. There are so many great entities out there, but there's no centralized type situation, and you're overwhelmed. My wife was absolutely overwhelmed. Everybody was overwhelmed. So what we want to create, it's twofold, and I think it's in that letter there. We want to create a website that basically, and Mitch kind of put a flow chart to this, we can answer some questions later, but basically, if somebody, and we're going to publicize the heck out of this as time goes on. This is a project that is going to be ongoing. I mean, this is how I was mayor in Bay Village in the 90s. This is how I operated in the 90s. Everything was a team effort. Everything was a team effort. And we're going to shamelessly publicize this constantly, because if people don't know you're in existence, it's virtually, I'm not going to say it's useless, but if they don't know where to go, and especially you're going through such extreme emotional problems at that time, you're not going to find them. So we're going to make sure we try and reach out and people know we're constantly available. The two mission, basically objectives of this is to develop a centralized website, basically, where If somebody gets diagnosed, their wife, their husband, their caregiver, their loved one can go on there and say, okay, I live in Avon Lake. What is available to me in Avon Lake from a, city service standpoint? Little things like mowing lawns. A friend of mine got me a lawn mowing service for the summer. Taking people that don't have the big support groups to get their shopping, their prescription. There's no task too small. We had a volunteer last week, 2 weeks ago, that said they do pro bono legal work in terms of preparing wills, power of attorney, things like that. I mean, it's wonderful. There's nothing too small that would not be appreciated when you're going through something like this. So our first objective is to develop the website. And our target market is the western suburbs of Cuyahoga County, and then Avon, Avon Lake, North Ridgeville, and the various areas on eastern Lorain County. There's probably going to be about 8 communities to start with, all right? We're going to walk before we run, but this conceptually could grow. There's no bounds on how big it could get, because the website's always going to be the epicenter of this whole thing. All right, and as we add, let's say somebody in Parma Heights, Middleburg Heights, that area want it, we'll just add services out there to the website, okay? We'll add the hospitals, local hospital. I think they have Southwest Generals out there in that particular area. So the website is crucial. The second part of this, and we'll get back to the website, but the second part of this is we are looking for volunteers, just like the attorney that stepped up and volunteered last week. And that's what the articles in the Sun newspapers and a couple other papers are going to, is the letter of the editor. It's saying, if you have anything to offer, if you can mow lawns, if you can shovel snow, if you can go take somebody, if you can sit somebody, Mitch is got a great sense of humor. He made me laugh. If you have somebody that can just spend some time, for particularly our senior citizens who may be alone, anything that we overlook on a day-to-day basis that becomes monumentally challenging when you're going through something like this, we want you as a volunteer. Now, we'll vet everybody. We're going to make sure that, because there's a lot of people out there that, obviously, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I've talked to a few people that have organizations, and they say you just have to make sure that you're getting people that are qualified and legitimate and have their heart in the right place. We'll do that. We've got a system in place that we'll be able to do that. But we want to get the people. We want somebody to go to that website, a one-stop shop, as I put down in that, basically, and be able to find out, okay, the Cleveland Clinic. I've been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. What is this? I'm going to get treated at the clinic. Go to hospitals, Cleveland Clinic, and we'll have their website linked there, or we'll have their link put in. What kind of services do the cities offer? I live in Avon Lake. Okay, Avon Lake, their senior or their city hall offers lawn mowing. Bing, bing, bing. Then we go to that point. What other services are available? We go to other services. All right, the Gathering Place, which is a remarkable facility that helps people that are suffering through cancer and families. The Village Food Project, which feeds cancer patients that are diagnosed with special meals. The American Cancer Society. So every other possibility. Then we'll have our list of volunteers in their respective communities that they could go to as well. So this would be, this is the whole ballgame, really, the website. And the beauty of this is that outside of the maintenance, and all the money that comes in, we're not going to have X amount going to administrative costs or anything like this, because we don't need it. This website is it. I'm a dinosaur, as I mentioned in that letter, but the fact of the matter is I know enough about IT now and everything. For my 2 daughters, they went to Lorain Community College as well, and they're in their late 20s, to know that this is what it's all about, getting on the internet and, finding out. We're also, I put down Tri-C there. Lorain Community College is, I'm just hoping that we can do something with Lorain Community College on the website. Tri-C, I met with them, with one of their people over there. They said, well, we have a nurse program, at least because it's geographically close to Bay, Westlake, and River. You could come over and we could have somebody help go on the website. So I mean, there's room. This thing's all inclusive. It's again a team effort to build this. We're going to the hospitals, and we're going to get their involvement as well. I guess just to kind of sum up what I'm saying is that I'm not going to take a poll on who's been hit with cancer from a family standpoint. The statistic is I think 1 out of 3 will be hit at some point. And the good thing about this, I heard Scott Hamilton say this, the skater, who's a Cleveland Clinic spokesperson. He said, we want to make cancer the type of disease that people consider as like chronic or manageable, almost like diabetes or something like that, because more people are surviving now than not. I mean, they're making great advancements. 20 years ago, this would have been a death sentence for me 10 years ago. And now I'm back, and, it's just a miracle what kind of advancements they're making. But the emotional toll it takes on people is just unbelievable. It's beyond words, And that's what we want to do. We want to put something together in which we can help. Now, the money that comes in, we want to possibly have an area on the website where we can have advertisers, hospitals and this and that. And all the money that comes in, when I mentioned we don't have administration costs, if this ever gets big enough to the point where we need somebody part-time, so be it. But the fact of the matter is, since this is virtual, all the money that we get in can go out to help people in need. Prescriptions, this and that. I mean, everything's expensive. Helping pay bills. So that's it. I mean, that's just a rough thumbnail sketch on what we're trying to accomplish. Mitch, I don't know if you have anything you want to mention in terms of...
the website, where is it?
You can see yourself.
Okay. Again, we want to try and make this user-friendly, this website. And kind of like a hub, obviously, a library hub type thing. And be able to access, like, for research, Cleveland Clinic, cancer resource, University Hospital, Mayo Clinic. And then we want to also have a link where you can, if your family and friends, check up and see how, that person's doing or whatever. Part of the web there, if they're, logged on and registered, I should say. And we want to have an area where it talks about us, or our services, suburbs for right now, how to contact us, volunteer for us. Basically, just a basic website for right now. And then we want to be able to access all these different websites, which I have a list of, a lot of them, like the Cancer Society American, the Cleveland Regional Cancer Center, Gathering Place, Cleveland Clinic, Hope Network, Mayo Clinic, a breast cancer foundation called JD, which is local here in Cleveland, Non-Hodgkin's Lymphoma Research Foundation. So, I mean, if you Bing or Google cancer research or websites, I mean, a lot of these, you can't have too many, That's what we're looking at doing as far as. And also, we want to put in here somewhere where, say there's somebody that they're not doing too good, but they love going to comedy shows or a ball game or something. We want to have an entertainer somewhere on this where somebody can take them to a game or something. Found in the past that a lot of people like doing stuff like that, but they don't have a. Like I say, we'll pass this around. We can make copies. But this kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at as far as a hub.
That's good, Mitch. Thank you. To get a little specific on a couple of these things, I had a friend who went through a bone marrow transplant as well about a month after me. And I had never heard of this. Caring Bridge, it's called. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. But we got nightly updates. And he and Jim Donovan, I don't know if you guys know the sports announcer Jimmy Donovan on Channel 3. But he went through it, and I got to use my own stem cells. He had to go out and get his own. He and my friend Russ had to get a match out there. That's even tougher. But this Caring Bridge gave you updates, nightly updates, and then you could write a message. Well, again, these things exist, but they're all out there. There's nothing centralized, and so our vision is just to get a centralized location, and then the right categories where you can access these, and not have to look at 20 different spots to get all the answers you want. Have one place you can go to, and have the 20 appear on that screen. You play around on that, or you could, if it's somebody from my generation who maybe not that computer literate or older, who's a lot of the older folks like my parents don't know anything about computers. They could have their grandkids navigate it and search it. So we have great plans. This is going to be successful. It's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference to a lot of people. And I'm going to tell you, Mitch and I it's funny because, and I pray nobody gets hit with anything hard down the road, but the reality is we're, that old saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Everybody at some point is going to get hit with something, or their family members are. Mitch and I were vibrant kids. I went in the Marine Corps. I worked all my life. Mitch worked all his life. And you get hit. And, I'm going to tell you something. When you do, it's tough. But as tough as it was, again, just to finalize it on me, was nothing compared to what I saw my family and loved ones going through. And that's the whole thing. So if I could get, and Mitch could get, and we could get your help on this, and again, we'll look back in 3 years, 2 years, when this thing is just absolutely, we have testimonials on there just saying how it's helped people and helped them, their families, and, it's going to be a great thing. And I guess that's all I have to say. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or Mitch would. Yes, ma'am. You know what? Here's how, and it's an interesting thing. There's a book called Leap of Reason out there. Mario Marino, who was an extremely successful IT entrepreneur. He sold his business in the 90s, got into nonprofits, and he wrote a book, and I read the book. And the minute we started working on this, when you get into something like this, you're working on emotion and passion, and then all of a sudden I read the first 4 pages. I thought, hey, we got to regroup a little bit because, that's only going to take us so far. I don't know if there are or not, but that underscores my point. If there are, I don't know about them, all right? And that's exactly what I'm talking about, and maybe because it's my old politician days, but you've got to shamelessly promote the heck out of this thing. If people don't know you exist, then to me, they're still very worthwhile, but we need a centralized location. And if it does exist, that's a good thing, and I'm glad that it exists, but I didn't know about it. None of my loved ones knew about it. So the one we develop, people will know about it. Yes. Oh, sure. The question was, are there other model programs out there throughout the country? And again, my answer followed that basically if there are, that's a good thing. But if there are model programs, the second part of this equation, which is really a very, very crucial part, are the volunteers of the area, your respective friends and neighbors that have skill sets that may be able to help in your community or in the area. So if there's programs that exist in Chicago or, in Texas or somewhere, those people that'll be a big part of the website, the volunteers, aren't going to be able to help our target market up here. It's a great question, though. Yeah, it very well could exist because there's a lot of great, well-meaning people out there. So, this isn't a real tough idea to come up with. It's just execution and making sure people know you're out there constantly. And that's why the team effort approach is always the best thing to go, regardless of what you get into. I found out. Yes, No, that's basically our mission statement is, our mission, I think I put in there providing, I think Mitch came up with it, providing resources and services to those that have been diagnosed with cancer. But we don't have a slogan. We don't have a... Yeah, well, Friends from the Start Foundation is actually, Friends from the Start is the name of it.
That's what we'd like to donate.
Yes, yeah, we've got the email in there. We got the email there, and we're working towards 501. We're working towards 501c3 status as well. But right now we're not in the. Right now we're trying to get the infrastructure in place, and I'm not too concerned about the 501c3 status until we actually have to raise money. But we're not at that point. You know, we just have to get this built, the infrastructure built, the volunteers in place, and then basically, we're good to go. But, and the website, even though there could be, infinite, number of links and this and that, but I think it's going to be relatively, again, the way I visualize it is hospital, or cities, hospitals, other sources, volunteers, the human, like 6 or 7 categories with drop downs, and then the drop downs with, with other links possibly. But these links all exist. I don't think there's any proprietary laws or areas that we have to worry about. My understanding, if they're on the website, but I will, and Mitch will, and we're going to divide it up in our subcommittee. We are going to approach the hospitals and everybody else that we use their links from, write them a letter and say, if you have any problem with us putting it on here, please let us know, and attach, our mission statement and everything else. I can't see anybody having a problem. They're on the website to get their word out anyway, so to me, I think it would be a good thing. Yeah, and that's, we're going to have to develop a disclaimer, and we're going to utilize that attorney who volunteered her services, because that's illegal. There's a couple things, because also with the volunteers, we're going to have an arm's length where we have it's almost like a preferred vendor list. When I was in office, we had a preferred vendor list. Well, you better do the job, because if we hear reports that you're not, then you're off the list, and then we take you off the computer, off the website. But the bottom line is that somebody who volunteers to take somebody shopping, and a recipient or somebody in need who wants to utilize that offer, they contact each other directly, and they either work out a payment, or if they're going to do it for free or whatever. But that's another legal issue that the attorney will come in where, that's anything that is worked out between the two. But we're going to be it's putting people together with people. That's basically it. All right? Where it's putting skill sets together with those in need. And then the legalities, though, is what John and what Pam, our recent volunteer, will work on. Yes? No, that's, this thing is... from what my daughters are 25, 27, that's why when Professor was so kind to, say, come to the class, Mitch and I were throwing it out. Whatever you guys and ladies come up with, if we go that, we're talking about 2 guys that barely got out of high school,
a lot of these websites you go to, you see, obviously, a lot of things.
No, we're not. No, we're not tied to any format, colors, just what are the information, basically, and as simple as possible. From what I understand, is you go on these websites, simplicity is especially for people that might not, go on these every day,
And of course, you're going to use good practices of presentation. That will be an easy. Sorry,
Yeah, no, that's
like a reflex. I got to mention that.
Yeah. The way I can, in a perfect first of all, I want to thank everybody for considering this, and you know, I didn't get into philanthropic events and things like that until I was much older, and the fact of the matter is, you know, as you get older, and especially when you get hit with something, you know, your priorities, your outlook change a little bit, but you know, for everybody, this is a great thing. I mean, I can picture us looking back, like I say, in a year. Look at the Sun papers today. I mean, this thing, I can picture this in a year helping so many people. And then basically we take this model, we could take this model and it could be replicated anywhere. I mean, basically, I don't know what the capacity or the limitations are on a website, but once you have that infrastructure in place and you just add a few hospitals or, you know, I mean, it's just, it's not, like I say, it's something I think is going to really work. Timeline is, my gosh, you know, yeah, right. I mean, there's no. We'd like to be up and running the website sometime in the summer. I mean, but you know, whenever the quarter, and this will be a work in progress. You know, we have a board that we'll be putting together. We have an advisory board that we'll be putting together. So far, it's been like about 8 or 9 friends. I mean, if anybody does take this on, 1 or 2 people or however many, you come on the advisory board. I mean, you know, this could be an ongoing thing. Maybe, you know, that could be the contribution that as we maintain this and update it with new things that people bring to our attention. The article that appeared in today's paper under Letter of the Editors was a call for volunteers. The next one will be in about 3 weeks, and it's a call for websites that are specific or links that are specific to, you know, so we're going to constantly, this is going to be a creation by everybody, and there's going to be ownership when you do that. So the next one will be to go out in 3 or 4 weeks and say, you know, we're just about there, but who's got some great things that have helped them when they were hit, you know, and I'll reiterate our story and all that. So it's always going to be a constant thing. You might find something in a year that this is the best thing that, you know, ever happened. You know, we got to get it on that website, you know. So, I mean, it's going to be a work in progress, but I think the vast majority of the things will be completed, you know, probably by the summer if possible. You know, I mean, your semester probably ends, you know. Yeah. So does this make sense? I mean, like I say, I wish I could articulate a little bit better in terms of the exact needs, but and Mitch has a heavy computer background, but really it's just throwing it out there and whatever you come up with, you know, and we can tweak it and we can go along.
One thing to keep in mind is that a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, and I think I alluded to this last time, how bad would your website have to be? You know,
that's right. You're exactly right.
Ought to be comforting. The second thing that I would add to that is that oftentimes, how do I want to say this? It can be difficult to envision something from scratch. You know, one of the serious things or one of the toughest things to do is asking to envision something. But everyone can look at something and say, this is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it. So one of the ideas in terms of the development stages is take that design document and you create a prototype so that we can show the prototype to the, they can look at it and say, yeah, that's on the marker, no, that's a little busy, whatever, you know. But again, yeah, so in a way as a developer you have to develop a little bit of a thick skin because the first pass of it to develop a prototype sometimes is, what do they call that, straw man? You know, something that you put up to have people rip it apart, all right? And in doing that, you come to what you need to, so, you know, you got to, like, put it out there without having your ego attached to it, you know? And then when they rip it apart, okay, well, that was a prototype. Now we know what we really need to do, and we can go in and do it.
That's very well said. I mean, that's it. And just keep in mind what, if anybody does get involved, this is the ball game right here. I mean, this is it, the website. I mean, that's the whole game.
Do you see the site as a recruitment tool
Oh, yeah, yeah. And donors.
Okay.
You know, and Mitch had a great idea a while back. They said, you know, on these things you get the little pop-up ads and things. You know, a lot of medical providers or attorneys or this or that may want to have advertising. I mean, that's almost like low-hanging fruit. If you could just put something on there to have them advertise on there, and then that money just goes straight for potential recipients that need funds and need financial assistance.
One thing to keep in mind about this is that if there's something technically that maybe you're not out, like maybe you heard that and it's like, ooh, I don't know how to put ads on the site. Yeah, that's something that I could work with you on. It's probably not going to be as hard as you think it is. You know, how is it that Google is the biggest company in the world? Not the biggest company in the world, but one of the larger capitalized companies out there. When they give away their search engine for free, well, it's because they sell ads. What's so great about their ads? They're easy to use. They're context specific. You can probably, it's just a matter of cutting and pasting some code onto your page from that they give you. If there's something that seems intimidating, yeah, talk it over with me and probably come up with some sort of solution. And maybe the solution, but we won't worry about that for this pass.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you know, that'll be a project for one of my other courses. All right, so don't be intimidated. I see the stuff that you guys do. You guys do a great job. One of the funnest things about this class is grading your assignment. Like I never knew so much about what's that kind of lemon that you mentioned? Yeah, the Meyer lemon. It's like I never heard of a Meyer lemon before, but you see these sites out there that are beautifully done and have great content on them, and it's like you folks can do this. And anything that you're uncomfortable with or that you are a little unsure about, we'll work through it.
You know, and that is great because the ads and anything like that, that'll fall under marketing, which is another topic that we'll hit down the road. You know, right now we just want to build it, and as you said, anything is better than what we have, which is nothing. So, I mean, we throw it in your creative minds there, I'm sure, and then we tweak it, go back and forth. We're going to have a nice infrastructure base, set up, and then we can start worrying about, the advertising and this and that. But it's getting this vehicle in place so we can grow it from there. Any other questions? Yes, I'll tell you what. What I'll do is there a copy center?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have an electronic copy of it?
No.
You give me a copy and I'll scan it?
We can, but yeah. It's is that how you want it to appear? Because I looked at this. I said, "This is you need to."
First of all, I got to explain what
Oh,
he
okay.
said. I worked in computers. It was mainframes. So, but no, this is just a general idea about, different websites, things that we've done on here, and, search and stuff. Definitely just a small little
Okay, yeah.
snapshot of what we think. We'll look a lot better than this.
Well, again, getting back to the, it just if I did this again in terms of getting diagnosed and the family, go to the website. Okay, what's this disease number one? Okay, and specifically at the clinic, and since that's where I went. But somebody may go to UH, so we'd have hospitals with the drop downs. We'd have city services. We'd have so simple like that. I guess the only reason I asked that is because it's obvious you've got a lot of background in computers. That gave me a headache looking at it. It's
no, but you know what? Two links in there that are the gathering place, and then there's JV breast cancer. I mean, not that we want them to look like that, but again, you can see what maybe some of it will be applicable.
yeah, that would be a great link for people to be able to go to. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. I mean, they already exist. Let's just point them in the right direction.
Make this, you know, as easy.
I would just like to say a little bit about
Yes, exactly. We're almost going to be like, okay, linking. It's just a centralized, like a traffic cop or a one-stop shop. You know, I mean, that's basically it. You know, a clearinghouse. You know, however you want to think of it. And like who we are, and we'll put our mission statement. We'll put, you know, why we're doing this, and then we'll have that. And exactly, so they go to this, and they go to their cities. Then we send them the links and websites that already exist. You know, but nothing centralized. And you ask that question where, and again, that's a great question. Probably would have done more research if this other second half of the website, where the local volunteers wasn't going to be such a big part of it, because even if it does exist somewhere, you know. But the fact of the matter is, we're a clearinghouse. That's basically it, you know.
But you are localized too. So again, just to point out, like the links as far as volunteers and also as far as hospitals.
Absolutely, yeah. And gathering place and places, you know. There's so many places like the gathering house or gathering place, the Village Food Project. I mean, and that's why I don't even know how many are out there, for crying out loud. There's got to be dozens and dozens, you know.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Describe different groups of people.
Well,
probably a few obvious ones. There might be some less obvious ones.
There will be people that, from word of mouth, and like I say, we're getting today and yesterday it went in a local paper, and today it's in a local paper in 7 or 8 different communities, and it'll be in a couple others, and then they're going to continually do this. So word of mouth, if somebody gets diagnosed, when I got diagnosed, I would meet for breakfast, because they'd hit you with chemo every 3 weeks, and then you're down, you know. So, but the thing is, we'd meet for breakfast. I met with 2 other guys going through cancer, one with Parkinson's and one with, you know, heart problems. And it sounds like a pretty depressing breakfast, but you had to have thick skin because we really just nailed each other. I mean, it was a tough crowd, you know, but it was great. That's where the laughter comes in, number one. So the word of mouth is going to be just incredible when people know. And secondly, just marketing. And this comes down to marketing. We have to let people know we're out there. So our target will be anybody who's
volunteers.
Yeah, okay. Volunteers will be,
so,
you know.
So if I'm hearing you right, here's what I'm hearing, and you can let me know if I've left anything out. There are maybe people that have recently been diagnosed. There are families of people that are undergoing treatment. There are potential volunteers / donors. That's 3 groups of people. What are there other groups that perhaps?
Well, the churches. I can say, you know, Father Tim, I'm sure when he knows it's up and running, if somebody gets diagnosed in the parish, he'll refer. You know, so, and the same with Father, you know, Reverend Stilsky and everybody, every other church in each respective community. So I think churches would be a big one. Senior centers. That's where the cities, you know, come in. That's why we have to make personal contact, even though we take their websites probably and not have any problem. But we want them to buy into our program as well, so that they can tout it, you know, as we go along and people have needs. So yeah, just the community in general.
You know, another thing that we envision down the road is social workers that work at university hospitals. They could point people to us also.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. You know, everybody worries about the HIPAA laws and this and that, and that's over my head, but I know there's confidentiality and all that. But there's people that are asking, and you know, somebody could just simply say, go to this website, and they could point you to wherever you want to go if you're willing to spend some time, you know, surfing it or whatever word it's called. So.
Other questions?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, an us spot about us, and then or you know, whatever is in the typical. If you could look at 2 or 3 websites and get the generic, you know, who we are, or you know, however they they term it, you know, about us. Yeah, 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 you know. But exactly, because there's probably 2 or 3 that we have to have up there or want to have up there, you know, and then. Boy. Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes, we do want that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a good idea. I think, especially with the volunteers, that would be good. Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't know if they have to become members because that complicates it. I think. What do you think? I mean,
I think that'd be maybe down the road.
yeah, no, I don't think right at this point to volunteer and to resubmit the form. Or I need help, exactly. But it's got to be so that nobody else sees it.
Right, understand.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great. But the simpler, the better. That's the thing. But that's the kind of thing we want to get out there.
Do you have, or are you thinking of putting?
We probably should. Yeah. I mean, we haven't yet. This thing is such in the infant stages here, you know. And but yeah, we will. We'll get a Facebook page. The email was the big. I was pretty proud that we got the email up, but of course my daughter did that one. So, but and then we'll get a number, a phone number, and yeah, all this is gonna, and this is moving quickly too.
We need the
you know.
domain.
Yeah, the domain, huh? Yeah. Oh, great.
Thank you very much for your time. Full length of time because we
Oh.
might be able to hear all the day.
Oh, great. Well,
Thank you.
listen, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, even if you don't do anything, for listening. And, you know, this is going to be a winner because, like I say, you get good people together with good people and things happen. And this is going to help a lot of people. So if you can be part of it, thank you very much. On that letter is our new Gmail or our email there. So you and I've got a business card. You can call me on that phone number, and you can email me really anywhere you want to email me.
I know electronic versions of. The reason I'm asking that is there is the online class, so to speak, that actually aren't in the room today. That's all right.
All right. Thank you very much for your attention, and there's some great questions there. I hope I know you folks can do a great job on this. Let's see how this goes. All right. We'll see you over in lab.